Did you know your college might be haunted? If not, this is my new series, Haunted You, where I tell you about different haunted colleges and universities. And today we're going to be talking about the University of Alabama. Now, Bama is no stranger to ghosts. This university has been around since 1831, and the land was granted to the university back in 1820. So at this point, this school has been around for over 200 years, and this means that it's seen its fair share of history and death. So in 1831, Bama officially opened its doors to white male students. They attended the school, but it wasn't the best time. They had a lot of rules: no drinking, no smoking, no unauthorized visits off campus. However, they were having a little too much fun, getting away with too much mischief, and due to the lack of discipline, the university's president at the time, Lyndon Garland, petitioned the state in 1860 to make it a military academy. Now, at first, the state pushed back. They weren't really trying to go for it, but after a while, they relented, and in 1861, Bama became a boys' military academy. Now, this is where a number of problems would start for the university, and this is where we get many of our ghosts from. Now, there's a significant event that happens in the 1860s that would impact most of the U.S. at the time, and that's the Civil War. Now, like most Deep South schools, the University of Alabama supported the Confederacy. In fact, most of the students that attended during that time would go on to join the Confederate Army. However, before that point, they would stay at Alabama and they would train there. Now, at the time, the University of Alabama was considered the West Point of the South. Now, this would end up being a problem for the university because of its military affiliation and its support of the Confederacy. This puts a huge target on its back. As a result, it would have been very advantageous for the Union Army to attack the school at the time due to all of the soldiers that it was manufacturing. Anyways, this leads us to our first story of the night. Our setting, Woods Hall. Now, Woods Hall was erected after the Civil War in 1868, but it used pieces of other buildings that had been burned down. Now, this story involves a man and his cousin and another student. So one day, while at the university, the man and this other student were talking. I guess they start to joking around, and then this other student says something untoward towards this man's cousin, right here. I think he might have said she was for the streets or something, or said something about her honor, and this triggered the man over here. So the man over here said, "Okay, bet. I want to challenge you to a duel." So the other student agrees, and on the balcony of Woods Hall, on one of the higher floors, one of the men loses their life. He gets shot in the chest and falls over the balcony, and he's dead. Now, for the life of me, I can't remember which man it was, but the man who died is said to be haunting Woods Quad. In fact, many people have said that you can hear a gunshot, or periodically, if the night is right, you might see somebody falling over a balcony. Now, personally, I would not want to be that ghost and playing my loss on a loop, but, that's just me. So if you're ever in Woods Quad and you hear something eerie, it might be the ghost duel taking place. Our next ghost story takes place about a quarter-mile away from Woods Hall at the Little Round House, also known as Jason's Shrine. Now, during the university's academy stint, this place acted as a sentry post for the students there to watch out for the university. And if you can see around the building here, it's shaped like an octagon. Now, this is intentional because an octagon allows you to see on all sides, limiting the potential for blind spots. Now, on this particular day, there were Union soldiers on the campus at this time. And what would happen is the Confederate soldiers who were attending the university would be on guard duty, and what they would do is invite the Union soldiers into this octagon here, but when they got in the door, somebody would be waiting inside to ambush them, and this is how this place gets its ghost. Now, about a quarter-mile away from the roundhouse to the right, you get the Gorgas House. Now, this is one of the oldest buildings on the campus, and at one time it was a cafeteria. I feel like it was a library at some point too, as well as a hospital, but it was later given to the university's president, Josiah Gorgas. Now, Josiah Gorgas was a general in the Confederate Army, and it's said that he died in this house. So of the ghost sightings that people report, normally it's the ghost of him. Some people can hear thumping going up the stairs at night. Others have seen the apparition. There have also been reports of seeing Josiah Gorgas' daughters at the house as well. Some say they've seen the apparitions on the upstairs balcony. Others state that they have glimpsed them in the house. But if you have any stories, please let me know in the comments. Now, across from the Gorgas house, we have the Amelia Gorgas Library. Now, allegedly, the library is haunted by the ghost of Amelia Gorgas. It's said that the elevators stop on random floors that they're not supposed to, and some people have reported seeing sightings of her. Now, if you head out of the Amelia Gorgas Library and down the steps, you'll be in the Quad. And the Quad is known to have its fair share of ghost sightings as well. Some have reported seeing the ghost of Confederate soldiers strolling the lawns. Others have seen the ghost of other students who have long passed. Now, if you were to keep heading straight down the Quad, you would eventually come to the president's mansion. Now, this is one of those buildings that I heavily associate with Alabama, and it was almost lost to time. Now, on April 3rd or 4th, 1865, the Union Army torched the University of Alabama. They were given instructions to burn the university to the ground. Now, the then president's wife at the time, Louisa Garland, was held up in the Bryce Hospital. Yes, that Bryce Hospital. And when she heard what was happening to her home, she left her shelter at Bryce Hospital and ran back to the president's mansion. She attempted to convince the Union soldiers at the time to not burn it down, but they didn't give a damn. They had their orders and they were doing just that. So what did she do? She got the people who were formerly enslaved at the mansion, who were still working there, to put the fires out for her. And they are the only reason this mansion is still standing today. Now, if you were to look on the right side of the president's mansion, like we're facing it, you would also notice that there are some slave quarters on the other side of it. They're very small. If you're not paying attention, you would miss them, but they are definitely a part of the university's history and they don't get talked about enough. Now, when Louisa Garland found out that her house was about to be torched, she ran from Bryce Hospital to the president's mansion. Now, the area that she ran from is probably one of the scariest areas in the state, the old Bryce Hospital. At one point, this was an established mental institution, but there was a lot of mistreatment of patients going on in there. There were many people who brought their loved ones to the facilities and never came back to see them, or worse, they came back to see them and they weren't there to be seen anymore. So there are a lot of reports of disembodied voices, apparitions, footsteps, handprints being touched, etc. Now, the building has since been repurposed, but there are still feelings of eeriness, and some people can still say they hear the disembodied voices. Not to mention, medical mistreatment was fairly common at this time, and there were a lot of patients here that were abused, never seen again by their families, or so there's a lot going on with the old Bryce Hospital. Now, fun fact, there was an app that came out in 2016, 2017 that allowed people to track ghosts on their phone. And this took off for a little while. I don't know what happened to the app, but Bryce Hospital was one of the most popular places that people would go to use this app. And every single time, without fail, there would be something that popped up on this app. The university is also home to another haunted site, the Marion Galloway Theater. Now, Marion Galloway was the first director of theater at the University of Alabama. It's stated that she might have been the inspiration behind Blanche DuBois from A Streetcar Named Desire, with her and Tennessee Williams being friends. Now, the ghost story comes in because after she passed away, there would be sightings of her in theater shows, practices, auditions, etc. It's also been said that she's known to pop up if rehearsals aren't going as efficiently as they could, or if she feels like people are being lazy. Now, one of the last haunted sites on this list is the Mound. Now, this is located at the site of the old Franklin Hall, which was a dormitory that was burned down in 1865 along with the rest of the campus. Now, a lot of people state that the energy here is just different. It could possibly be from all of the ceremonies that take place here. There's a lot of societies that come here to do their tapping ceremonies, but it could also be the ghost. Now, allegedly, I'm not too sure if this is true or not, when all of the buildings were burned, they had to take the rubble and put them somewhere. And some people say that where they put this rubble, this debris, is where the mound is located today. So it could just be all of that residual energy from the burnings, from the Civil War, from the loss. I have no clue. Let me know, though, if you have felt anything weird at this site, or if you just think that it might be haunted or not. Now, the last site on my list is the Pratt Cemetery. And it's not necessarily haunted, or at least I don't think it is. But I do think it should be bought up because it's one of the final resting places of the university's enslaved population. Now again, this was a school erected in 1831. The land was given to it back in 1820, which meant it had an 11-year building period. A lot of the labor that was done on this university was done by the enslaved population who was kept here. As far as I know, there are only 2 grave markers out of the entire enslaved population that are found on this campus, and they are in Pratt Cemetery. Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know if I missed any ghosts or if there are any more haunted sites that should have been added to this list, and I will see you guys in my next video.